Over. All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me for the last week. This is the last week of your cleanse. I hope that this week went well. I have gotten some text notifications from some of you of things that you've experienced, and I hope that this last week was an educational and learning experience for you, just to kind of dial in and learn things about your body and what it was like to maybe go without protein if you chose to do the vegan menu. And if you didn't, and you think, well, maybe that's, for another time, that's totally fine. This is a kind of meet yourself where you're at cleanse. I don't want you to feel overly pressured. There was no expectations. It really was just to give your body an opportunity to reset. Now in this next week, I'm going to screen share. What we're really looking to do in this next week is add things back. So this is the point where all the foods that we eliminated during the first two phases, phase 1 and phase 2, we're going to take an opportunity now to bring some of those things back. So, and I'll go up to that list in just a second. The first thing that you're going to want to add back is obviously your animal protein. That's going to be a good place to start. But you do want to try to make sure that your protein is organic, and that it talks about that in here inside the guide. The other thing that you want to think about doing is looking at other foods that you've eliminated. Now, you might like the things like sugar and kind of the fun foods, I'll say, I would put those off. And how we're going to reintroduce these, I'm going to give you some tips on that and what that looks like. But when we reintroduce them, we may have side effects that we were unaware of before because we had been eating them all the time and our body had kind of acclimated to it. But some of the things that you will notice if you haven't been eating these foods and you put it back, if you've noticed like you get a headache or you have a sore throat or sinus pressure, or maybe you're a little more moody or your stomach is bothering you, gas, bloating, those can all be signs that that particular food is not a match for you. So you want to be paying attention to that. Now, food lasts in the body at the cellular level for 3 days. So when you reintroduce a food, you might find that it could be that it takes up to 3 days. It takes up to 3 days for you to feel a symptom of one of these things. So when you bring those foods back, you have to pay attention to that. You can't just bring back like 5 or 6 things and then be like, oh, well, I'm having a response. I have a headache or a sore throat or moodiness. Now, sore throats, I would say, are not typical of like a reaction, but they can be in some foods, like a reintroduction food thing. So you're going to be paying attention to these symptoms. And I would encourage you to keep a food journal. If you haven't been doing that for this period of time, the previous 2 weeks, is to keep a food journal as you're reintroducing them. So let's say on Monday, you add back chicken or whatever it is, and for 3 days, you're going to kind of just be paying attention to how you feel. Don't bring back more than 2 foods at a time, because if you have a reaction, you're not going to know, well, which food is it? So you really want to pay attention to that. Now I have a trick. And if you have a pen and paper, this is not part of the information that you got. I'm going to teach you a trick. Okay. Now the trick is that you are going to take, your pulse for a full minute. Do this first thing in the morning. So this would be like in the morning, like breakfast time. You're going to take your pulse for a full minute. And you're going to measure the beats, and you have to do it for the full minute, not 10 seconds times 6. No, it's the full minute, because we actually have variation in that minute. And you're going to get a number. Let's say, for example, you get the number 60. Okay. Then you're going to put a bite of food in your mouth and you're going to hold it there for 30 seconds. And after the 30 seconds, you're going to take your pulse again for the full minute. And then you're going to see the difference between when you didn't have the food in your mouth and when you did. If the beat changes more than 7 beats, then that can be an indication that that food is not a match for your body. Wait a minute, Andrea, that sounds kind of hokey. How does our body know? How fast do you know that something is sweet? Is it 10 seconds after you put it in your mouth? Is it a minute after you put it in your mouth? No, it's immediate, because your body hits that taste bud and it sends a message out. Now, your immune system, how does it travel? In your blood. If if your immune system senses that there is some sort of harm coming, it will increase your blood flow. It'll increase your pulse so that it can respond to what is potentially harmful. So this is a good way, if you're unsure about whether this food is a good match for you or not, to start to kind of figure out and help you delineate that. So that can be something that you think about implementing when you start these food reintroductions. Now, the foods like that we looked at, all of these foods that we were avoiding during all phases, again, I wouldn't start back with the sugary foods or caffeine or anything this week. I would do the things that are more healthful or health building that you might have taken out. So things like the nightshade plants or the proteins. Those are the things I would add back first. Maybe a little bit of dairy, maybe dried fruit, those types of things. But gluten, alcohol, sugar, caffeine, I might wait for later to see if those are things that I should add back or not. Okay. Now, if you remember at the very beginning of this, you took that assessment. Next Sunday, we will not be meeting, but that is the time to retake that assessment, to see that quiz that you took at the very beginning. How did it change at the end of these 21 days that you spent doing all of the things? So you can get a sense what changed, what victories did I have? I know people to right now, someone has told me, I've lost 13 pounds. I've had people tell me I'm less inflamed. I feel the best I've felt. So I know that some of you have been messaging me and telling me that you're feeling really good and that things are changing. I have had people in history in the past say, I don't really want to go back to any foods right now. I'm going to repeat week 1 for week 3. That's fine. You totally can do that. Maybe this isn't the week that you do food reintroductions. Maybe this isn't the time that you take to do that. Maybe this week you're just like, I'm going to go back to week 1 and repeat those recipes because I feel great and I kind of don't want to bring things back right now. Maybe you need more time, and that's fine too. And bring back the protein because that was in week 1, right? But all those other foods, maybe you leave out, you don't add any of them back. So that's an opportunity for you. Does anybody have any questions about how to reintroduce foods? What this kind of looks like wrapping up? Or is there any victories or things that you'd like to share? And you don't have to unmute if you're not comfortable. You can type it into the chat so that people can hear if you've had some great successes and wins in this last week. I know it's hard to give up a lot of the protein and have that experience of like, what is it like to be a vegan? And like I said, I would never promote like a vegan lifestyle for long periods of time, but it can be very health promoting for short periods of time, just to give yourself that digestive break and really give your body an opportunity to cleanse. All right. Oh, great. I'm seeing from Kathleen that her fingers are less swollen. That's awesome. I love that. Tim and Dawn together in the same room? What?
It's rare.
I have a really dumb question. Okay, so when I'm prepping all this food, I tend to have like bits and pieces of vegetables left. Like, what do you do with the green stock on the fennel? And then like at the end of the week, can I just throw whatever I have left in to make vegetable broth?
Yeah, I would do that. Or what I've done in the past is I have like a gallon Ziploc bag, and then all of the ends and cuttings from vegetables, I put it in that bag. And then when I go to make like bone broth or a chicken stock or something like that, I just put it in there because you're not necessarily going to eat those. You strain it out, but there's still nutrients that you can glean from that. So I have a weird bag of ends in my my freezer. What is this? Vegetable ends, carrot peelings, or whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna do the week 1 stuff this week.
Repeat the week 1. Yeah, a lot of people really like to do that. I think that it's a really good option, and the recipes are great. So why not?
Yeah.
I'm seeing my sister-in-law, Miss. She loved eating vegan and didn't miss the protein. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Sometimes just getting that break away from the protein is awesome, and giving your body a chance to just chill out a little bit. Anybody else have anything?
Hey, Andrea, it's Karen.
Karen.
we're not videoing right now, but
I wish I could turn off my video.
just wanted to say a couple things. One is, I would say for me, I'm amazed at how satisfied I felt just after eating, a big green salad or whatever it was. Like,
Mhm,
I realized how much sugar I was eating before, and I never felt full.
mhm,
And now I just like stop. It's just
mhm.
kind of amazing. So
Yeah.
that part's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the other thing I was going to say that Heath and I discovered is, the winter quinoa dish that
Mhm.
makes a huge amount.
Yeah.
One thing that was kind of fun was we took it and just with the leftovers, we were able to like saute it with a little bit of the, what is that stuff called?
Amino acid stuff.
Amino acid or
Oh, the
liquid
coconut
aminos.
aminos. Oh,
Yeah,
liquid
and it
aminos.
was
Yeah.
like stir fry
Yeah.
and
That's
fried rice flavoring, and it was really, really good. So
Yeah.
that's one thing you can do with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. It's what is missing. And I would say probably 65 to 75% of the people that I work with is that they don't eat enough fiber. And to have a healthy colon, we need 25 grams of fiber for women and 30 grams of fiber as a man. And when you start to get in there and you start looking at it, you're surprised. You're like, oh, I eat a lot of vegetables. And then you go in and you log it and you're like, oh, actually, it turns out I'm only doing about 15 grams. And that puts us lower. Well, when we're not eating that fiber, we're not getting that full feeling because it's the fiber that helps us feel fuller. But I will say, this is a thing, do not increase your fiber if you don't increase your water, because otherwise you're going to create a different problem for yourself. So you have to get your hydration right? Half your body weight in ounces is your goal for your daily water consumption. And you don't have to eat as much. And the thing also about having like salads and that, like there's only so much you can chew before you're like, I'm done chewing. I don't need to chew anymore. Oh, Debbie, you're going to repeat week 1 as well. Good for you. I love it. Noelle is asking, when reintroducing animal protein, is it just 1 or 2 types at a time? Yeah, I would stay like within the family. So if you did chicken, like chicken breast, chicken thighs, if you do pork, you could do bacon and like a pork chop. So stay within the family of that animal protein and try to do, 1 every other day at the very least. Give yourself a 24-hour period between so you can be sure. Beef tends to be the one that takes the longest for our body to break down, and pork would be next, and then chicken is the easiest or of those types of protein, and then fish. So fish is the easiest, then chicken, then pork, then beef. And it has to do with how much hydrochloric acid your body is making. That's your stomach acid, and then how much kind of the efficiency of your system downstream, like if you have a gallbladder or you don't. All right, I know one person here did the lemonade cleanse. Did anybody else venture out and do that? Take 3 days and do it? Yeah, Tim did it. Good job, Tim.
No, I did half of it.
Oh, you did half?
half, maybe a little more than that, but
Okay.
I didn't do the 3 days. I do know one person, I don't think she's on here tonight.
Yeah.
3 days.
Okay.
And I think I know 2 people. One, I think Debbie did it.
Debbie said I did 2 days. That's
2 days,
awesome.
yeah. And so I know one person who's not here. She did 3 days. I did like a day and a half. I felt like the second day like I still had energy. I thought I was going to be dead, but
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be starving and lay on the floor. But I felt pretty fine.
Good. I'm glad. Awesome. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or anything that they need clarity around? I just want to make sure that you know that going into this next week, you have the choice of going back to week 1 as like just taking an extra week and not doing any food reintroductions. Well, your food reintroductions would just be your protein, and to take that quiz. Like, please do take that for yourself. I promise you it will be worth it, because in the end, you want to be able to see kind of your before and after story. And there's going to be things that you put in that document that you're going to have forgotten that you did. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that was happening to me. And now I don't even experience that anymore. In the doctor I work for, one of the things that I often hear is, I see my ankle bones again. And you're like, is that a win? But for some people, it totally is. They go to the bathroom, they look down and they're like, there's my ankle bones. They're really excited. And I'm like, yay. So that inflammation coming down, and we see it first in our kind of our extremities. So like Kathleen, her hands, and other people, it can be your feet, your ankles, that kind of thing. So, all right, any other questions? Otherwise, I will stop babbling at you all. Just want to make sure you're prepared for the week ahead. I will still be in the chat room for the next week. So if you have questions, you can go up into the chat and ask that. I just wanted to let you know, because you were part of I'm working out a number. Hang on 2 seconds. So the money we raised here is being donated back to Branches Church to be able to send kids to camp this summer. And the money that was raised will send 7.5 children to camp on a full scholarship. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you for participating. That's the kind of stuff that I love, that, I can't always do that kind of thing. So it's so cool when I do have the opportunity to just give back in that way. So
I'll ask if people can continue with her.
yeah, what?
I'm
Right, Dawn.
That's the problem doing the Zoom with you. That's funny. Okay, so
With me?
like hypothetically, if somebody wants to continue with you, do you have openings in your practice to take people?
I have a limited number of openings, and I don't have anything in January, but I do have a few in February. So so it would be later in the month of February. But yes, if people are interested in doing something, or they have more questions or need testing, that kind of thing, reach out. I'm happy to see what I can do if I have a place for them, for sure. Thanks for asking that.
Can I just say thank you, Andrea, for doing this, and for, first for your awesome camp scholarship. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for all the encouragement in this, and thank you for all the resources, because this is super helpful. I just wouldn't do this on my own. And so, and thanks to everybody else who is doing this, because it made it a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's I think when you know that other people are kind of participating with you, and I wish Psalms was here, because he's like the king of posting the recipes in the feed. I'm like, yeah, he's not here tonight. That's okay. But I appreciate seeing that. And I love getting that kind of feedback where you guys are like, I love the recipes, because it does make me say, hey, let's do it again in the spring, or let's, that maybe there's an opportunity for us to repeat this. I have one for every season, so we could do a spring one as well if we wanted to. Yes, but thanks for the opportunity. I'm happy to have been part of it, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you also. And if you do a spring one, I'd love to join again. I've shared with you how my diet should be gluten, dairy, and sugar-free, but I was totally slacking on the dairy and sugar. And this kind of helped me to reset and like, oh, that's why I made all those sacrifices, because I feel better now. And so now it's like the sugar cravings are gone. And so I feel ready to just continue what I should be doing.
Good. I'm so glad. That's awesome, Kathleen. I know it's really hard. Like, sugar has like a double effect on us. One, it gives us energy, that because it's right there, the glucose can be used super quick. But the other piece of it is that it gets a dopamine hit. So it's almost has a drug-like effect on our brain. And we don't even think about that in the midst of it, of the, we're having it. And then we keep going back because that dopamine hit feels good. Like, we enjoy it. It's our pleasure response. So it's hard to get away from it. 21 days to reset the sugar taste buds in our mouth, then they are reset. So go this next week and then you'll totally be reset. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for sharing. I appreciate you guys all being here tonight. Have a good rest of your week. Be sure to let me know how your final scores were in the chat, in the feed, so I can kind of, that it's encouraging to me when I see that, what's changed for you. So have a good night, everyone. We'll be in touch over the feed in the chat. All right. Good night.